Hey, what's up? This your boy Big Man. You already know what it is, man. So let's get right to it. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about Young Thug. Now, Young Thug was arrested in this RICO indictment, right? That's no news to anybody, right? It's old news by now, right? Now, Young Thug was arrested by Fulton County. But because of all the situations that they got going on in the jail, the fact that they got Wyatt and Lucci in there, the fact that they're trying to juggle these two different crews, they had to separate Young Thug into his own jail cell into a whole nother county. So he's at the Cobb County Jail, right? Now, Cobb County Jail has been receiving some scrutiny from Young Thug's legal team because they said he was in some dungeon-like jail cell, according to some reports out there, right? Now, the jail has fired back. They were upset about that reporting, and it's got a lot of media attention. Like, you have different, civil rights organizations going out there to see the jail to see if people within the jail are being treated inhumanely. I mean, this really grew legs and became its own separate story. And Young Thug's legal team put in an emergency motion last week to have him released on bond because of these jail conditions. Now, the jail is firing back and saying, hey, man, this is a jail. What do you expect? It's not the Ritz-Carlton. This is a jail. And they gave the news an opportunity to go inside of the jail cell and look at exactly where and what the conditions are for Young Thug. So we're going to check out that news story. And man, before we do that though, do me a favor. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And man, let's get it. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about this news story from the local Channel 2 News in Atlanta there. And I believe it's WSB-TV or something like that in Atlanta. And in the headline of the story, it says this. It says, in quotes, "It's not the Ritz-Carlton. Cobb jail officials defend conditions rapper Young Thug being held in." So basically, they're going out to defend their jail and saying yo, man, I know there's reports out there saying that, this jail is inhumane and the way that he's being treated is inhumane by his, his attorneys or whatnot, but it's not those sort of conditions. Now, they did say there was a 24-hour watch on him. He doesn't get much time to interact with other people. And the jail is kind of firing back and saying that's for his own safety. So let's look at the news story, man.
Invited us to see the rapper's jail cell. Channel 2's Michael Seiden stood just feet from Young Thug.
Now, as you heard in the news story, or in that little clip of the news story, and we'll get to more of it, that, the guy who broke the story, this Michael Seiden guy, he's the one who broke the story about the whole RICO indictment, right? And he was allowed access to go inside of the jail to look at the conditions, man, because it's been getting a lot of scrutiny, like I said before, from different organizations. So let's actually check out another news clip that goes into deeper detail about that.
This would be the typical cell for this area. It doesn't have the mattress that would be in there because it's not currently occupied by anyone.
When attorneys for Atlanta rapper Young Thug filed a motion for an emergency hearing for bond describing the Cobb County jail conditions as inhumane and torturous, civil rights organizations like the Southern Christian Leadership Conference didn't waste any time getting a first-hand look inside the facility.
Now, as you heard in that clip, you heard that, there's civil rights organizations that are also in there and were invited to look at the place, and they actually requested to come look and see if, people were being treated inhumanely. Because when this motion was filed last week by his attorney to get him bond, it was national news. The story was already hot, so a lot of people, started to wonder if he was really being treated unfairly in that jail. And they gave you a short glimpse of the cell if you look in there, and it looks like, I don't know, it looks like a jail cell to me. You know what I'm saying? I'm not against Young Thug in any sort of way, but it does look like, he said, basically that's just, the slab they sleep on without the mat or whatever. And, it doesn't look comfortable, but, I don't picture jail or to be comfortable. I don't picture jail to look comfortable. But let's look at another clip from this same news story.
The purpose of today was to let the community know that we're not doing anything that we don't want them to see. We're running an above board jail, and we want anybody and everybody to know that.
But this is a jail. It is a detention center. It's not the Ritz-Carlton.
Now, as you heard, the staff there at the jail basically said that their jail that they're running is above board. That, they're doing everything within their rights or everything legally, and they're not afraid to have the public come in. And, once this story took off, they probably were surprised at the response. So they were like, oh, if you're really running an above board facility and you're not ashamed of anything you're doing in there, you just want to invite people in there to show them that everything is on the up and up. But I think the problem here is the stark contrast to living in a jail cell like we saw in those pictures to how Young Thug was living before, man. The Houston Chronicle ran a story just yesterday where they talked about the mansion that Young Thug owns, his former mansion, and Gunna's house, like that's being built, you know what I mean? And they showed Young Thug's mansion. And if you look at the pictures here, his mansion is a beautiful place, man. It's an upgrade from his old mansion. He had a mansion that he lived in before that, which was a bigger house. I wouldn't say it's a mansion, but this new house is all modern and stuff. It just looks really nice. And they talked about, you know, that those details, like, you know, of his house or whatnot. And, you know, he even had his house featured in some sort of magazine or something, I believe. You know, just a nice crib. And now you sitting up in a jail cell. You couldn't pay me to fumble the bag that bad. You know what I'm saying? And that's not saying that Young Thug did anything, because you're innocent until proven guilty. But from living in that mansion to living in that jail cell that they just showed in them pictures and in these clips, man, forget that, man. It's better not to do no type of crime, man. Ain't no way in the world, man. You know, that's a stark contrast between one living situation and the other. You know what I'm saying? But let's check out this next clip.
Jail officials told us that Williams, who's considered a high-profile inmate, is being kept in his own cell in isolation for his own safety.
Now, as you heard in that short clip, that Young Thug is being put into solitary or by himself for his own safety or isolated. They didn't say solitary. Now, there's two different things, so don't think that he's in solitary confinement. He's actually in isolation by himself, which I don't know, man. Is there a difference between those? I wouldn't know, you know, personally. I just wouldn't know. But, man, I know that when it comes to solitary confinement, there is a lot of criticism of that practice. You know what I mean? They said that, you know, it's one of the worst things ever for a person or a human being, you know? So I don't know. And maybe he feels a little bit of that by being isolated, but the jail proclaims that it's for his own safety. Now let's check out this final clip right here.
Also told us he's being fed and given the opportunity to exercise and meet with his attorneys. On Friday, Williams' attorney Brian Steele told Channel 2 that his client is innocent and he's now fighting to get him a bond.
Mr. Williams is held in a cement small area. There's a light on all the time.
Now, in this news clip right there, you heard his attorney, and that's Brian Steele. He's like one of the top-rated criminal defense attorneys in Atlanta, man. And he's going to bat, like he said before, for Young Thug. And he said that he's staying in a cement cell, you know what I mean? And I don't know, with the light being on 24 hours, I can see that being a problem. Like, how could he ever get to sleep? You know, how could he ever get rest? So it might be messing with him in some sort of way. But what do you guys think about this, man? Is this just a situation of going from one extreme to the next? Like, in 1 second, you living in this beautiful mansion with as much space as you can imagine, you know, huge backyard, everything. And I ain't show all the pictures. And now you're in a jail cell, man. Not even wondering if this going to be your life. Is this what it's going to look like for a long time going forward in the future, man? Now, with that, what do you guys think, man? Do you think that Young Thug has a good case here and should be released on bond because these conditions are inhumane and it just doesn't look good? Or do you feel like, man, jail is jail and it is what it is, but hopefully, you know, the best for Young Thug and them, and hopefully they didn't commit any crimes in the first place, right? Now, with that, this has been your boy Big Man. Do me a favor. Make sure you hit that like button, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and make sure you hit that notification bell so that way you get a notification every time I drop this hot content. And we out of here. Peace.